bring our correspondent Elena Casas in Paris as well. Elena, we've been talking about the areas of possible cooperation between China and France with Macron's visit this time. But give us an idea of Macron's schedule and what will French people be watching for?
Well, as we heard there, Macron is heading first to China's imperial capital, Xi'an, where he's to give a speech on Monday about French-Chinese relations, and he'll also visit the terracotta warriors there. He'll then head to Beijing later in the day for talks with Xi Jinping, and on Tuesday he'll be speaking to the Chinese Prime Minister before hosting a sitting on a state dinner with the Chinese President. Now, in terms of what's on his agenda for this visit, as we were hearing just there, really getting China's collaboration and working on joint projects together to cut carbon emissions is one of the most important things for the French president, given, of course, President Trump's decision to pull the US out of the Paris Climate Agreement. It can't succeed without support from China, and France is really hoping that China will come on board and that the two will be able to announce joint projects to keep cutting carbon emissions and keep that agreement on the road. Nuclear energy is also another key area where they want to promote collaboration. China, of course, is already working with France's EDF to build new nuclear plants, both here in France and in the UK, and that's something that Macron will be hoping he can announce new agreements in that field. He also, of course, wants to talk about some key geostrategic issues, especially North Korea.
You're right, joint efforts and commitments to fighting climate change seem to have been a highlight in joint efforts between China and France. But the two sides have also been benefiting from traditionally strong economic and business ties. And what can we expect from this visit in that regard?
Absolutely. France is already the biggest exporter to China in Europe, and Macron will be hoping to keep deepening those trade ties. He's trying to reduce some of the €30 billion trade deficit that France has with China, so he's hoping to announce new export deals. He's travelling to China with more than 100 CEOs of French companies who will be hoping that they can broker agreements during this trip. For example, France's biggest aviation firms, Airbus and Dassault, have their CEOs on the trip, and we're hearing that we're expecting an announcement of the sale of at least 100 Airbus planes to China during the trip. Macron also wants to promote France's agricultural exports. He's hoping that China will open the doors to exports of beef from France within the next few months, and he also wants to encourage the export of pork and of dairy products. The new Chinese demand for dairy products as Chinese tastes change a little bit, and there's a growing appetite for cheese and butter and of course also for baby milk. And it has been an enormous boon to the dairy sector here in France, which has been facing financial crisis since the end of EU subsidies a couple of years ago. So that's also something that he's keen to increase and promote.
Elena, thank you for that update. We'll keep a close watch on this trip from China. Thank you so much for your time.